guys, how's it going? Hope you're all well. It's a pretty tough time at the moment here in England, where I am near London. We are running out of supplies in the shops, but I hope everyone's well where you are. Let me know what's going on. Hi, and yeah, hope you're all doing well in this troubled time. We're going to be talking about Dumble amplifiers or Dumble clones, and we're going to be talking about getting a Dumble sound for blues playing, how to play blues with a Dumble amp, and you know, making the most of a Dumble sort of sound. You know, what sort of thing can you get? Can you get? Oh yeah, Alex, cheers, or enchanté, or whatever they say when you are drinking coffee. So we're going to be talking about getting some cool Dumble tones and how, you know, what sort of the history of playing blues on the Dumble, I guess, and also we're going to talk about a little bit of theory, a little bit of guitar theory, some really simple theory to spice up your blues playing, and I'm going to show you my whole concept if you're interested. I've explained this a few times before, but I'm not a famous YouTuber or anything, so probably this is going to be new for you guys. But I explain my whole ethos. Craig, yo, Matthew, great to see you guys. So I'm going to explain my whole ethos of playing blues. That might be of interest to you guys, you know, and I've kind of like got my own little system, my own little way. We've all got our own way of doing things that relates to us, and I'm going to show you how I do it. You know, it might be the right way, it might be the wrong way, who knows, you know, but it's my way. I did it my way, you know, so it's a great tune. I think we're all going to be singing here in England, in this street, we're all going to be singing I Did It My Way. We're going to be opening the windows. We're all going to be singing it to each other because there's not a lot going on, and we hear that's what the Italians are doing. If there's any Italians, say hello. Right, okay, so let's get to it. So today, just going to talk a little bit about the gear I'm using today. I'm using this guitar here, which is called an ESP guitar, made by ESP. These were pretty expensive, and at the time probably about 3,000 quid, although I hear the pound is going right down. So I think a dollar is worth a pound, or maybe tomorrow, because the pound's crashed. It's crazy, you know. We're going to talk about buying as well, buying guitars, you know. But yeah, I got this real cheap. It was very battered in. You can see all the dents and things, but it's a £3 guitar, new. It's got a nice fat neck on it. I just had it refretted by the Bass Gallery in Camden. They put 6100 frets on it. So I wanted to try a few other different pickups, and I'll explain that in a minute. In here I've got a Mojo pickup, which is, has anybody heard of Matt Schofield? Anybody know Matt Schofield? We haven't talked about Matt Schofield on this channel, so we should mention him, you know. Anyway, so Matt Schofield, I've met him a few times. He's a nice guy. He's a really cool guy, and I've had a chat with him about his guitars and stuff, you know. But anyway, he favours a Strat pickup with a metal, a plate, like a, you know how a Telecaster bridge pickup has got that metal plate. Don't know what they call it, piece of zinc that goes under the magnets. And maybe that was Leo Fender did that in order to keep the magnets together from falling out. Who knows? I don't know. But normal Strats don't have that. So this is a Mojo pickup. It's a pretty powerful Mojo pickup, and it's probably 6.5, and it's got a piece of zinc underneath it. Well, but when I'm playing with a Dumble, it gets this really nice kind of, because I always think a Telecaster and a Telecaster or a humbucker guitar sounds the best with a Dumble. So with a Dumble sort of overdrive, I'll turn off my delay. I put it on boost. Okay, so there you can see you can get a really nice sort of bloom to the note when you've got a more powerful pickup, I think. I might be wrong here, but you can get more bridge pickup, and so because the Telecaster sounds great with the Dumble, it just sounds brilliant. You know, I mean, Robin Ford always used a Telecaster, you know, and Larry Carlton used a humbucker 335, you know, because it just gives you a bit more power. So I do think if you're going to use a Strat and use a vintage Strat pickup, you're always going to be at a loss. You know, you're going to be missing something there. And you can see I haven't got two pickups here, and there's a reason for that. I'll explain in a minute. But generally, when I'm using a Dumble amp for overdrive, I'm only soloing on the back pickup because it just got that, gives you that nice, that bloom. Guys, can you hear that? Can you hear that a little bit? You know, there's a harmonic there. I don't know what it is. It's on the 8th fret on the B string. You can just, it's just got that harmonic. So there you go. Right, we're going to talk about what about the Dumble sound. Is it Dumble sound? Is it a good sound for blues? Well, yes. Why? Okay, I'll tell you why. For two reasons. Nowadays, it's a great sound. The reason nowadays it's a great sound because we can't play loud in venues in pubs and clubs. I mean, we can't even play in pubs and clubs at the moment, but when we can get back to playing in pubs and clubs, you want to get that sound. What's the best guitar sound ever? What's the best overdriven sound in the world? You tell me, guys. You know, you tell me. Okay, I'm going to wait. But let me tell you my favourite sound is Eric Clapton, Blues Breakers album. That's the best sound ever for me for blues. You know, that was, you know. So, you know, hi Eric, how's it going? J Trem. Yes, I've coined. Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, you know, what is the best sound? You know, it's the best guitar tone ever for blues. You know, if you're talking about the great tones. But for me personally, my favourite tone ever is Eric Clapton, Blues Breakers, recorded here in London at Decca Studios. That was for me. That was, you know, Marshall stack. JTM 45, 30 watt amp, right? Full blast, two Celestine greenbacks, full blast, full tilt. That's the sound you want, you know. So if you can get that and be able to control that sound, you know, and not have to have a JTM 45 on full blast, you know, then you're onto a winner. So this is really what the Dumble kind of platform does, is it gives you that beautiful violin-like quality, that voice, beautiful, smooth overdrive. But it gives you to you in a variable so you can control it, you know, in a situation where you can control it. So that's really why the Dumble is a great tool for playing blues. And you've got you've got two things. You've got your normal overdrive channel, which is great for kind of playing more low down blues. You know, sort of rhythm playing. That sort of tone, and then you've got you put the preamp boost on with the overdrive, and then you've got your great soloing. So that's where you've got your sort of two sounds, and you've got your clean as well, obviously, for playing your ballads and your Stormy Mondays and all that sort of stuff. So you've got three great tones with a Dumble, and then all you need is a reverb, and we're using a Carl Martin headroom, so I have some Tweed style projector amps, but really, what I love to solo, what I really, really want to solo and really be musical in terms of playing notes and intervals and getting inside the chords, then for me the Dumble amps are my favourite. Right, let's go to some comments here. Mr. Will, namaste, thank you, my brother. Mr. Will here is online. He's great African blues, African classical and jazz player. So we are humbled, Mr. Will, to have your presence amongst us. Joe Geezer, thanks Joe. Joe's my twin brother, he's online. Eric, hi, how's it going? Who else have we got? Matthew, thank you. And Axel H, thanks for saying my guitar's very pretty. Thank you very much, very kind. Eric says, I feel there's too much emphasis on someone's tone and gear. It's a person's spirit, the power of their emotion in their moment that makes them a great guitar voice. Everything for me is vibrato. And that's a beautiful statement there by Eric, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Axel, appreciate your playing. Great. Thank you, Axel. Very kind. Eric also says, knowing your history. Well, that's very true. You've got to know your history. That's really important. To know your history and to bring that in. To study the masters, study the greats. We've talked a lot on some previous streams about knowing some, Delta blues and Big Brill Brunsey, John Lee Hooker, Ira Burnside, and learning, I have my own way of doing things, but that if you can get that, and then you get that into your normal standard playing, that kind of rhythm, that groove, then that's where it's going to affect everything that you do. So that's very, very true. Okay, Mozilla is from Austin, Texas. It's amazing to have you, bro. Thank you very much. I'm guessing you're a man, but thank you, bro, for coming and joining us. Austin, Texas is like, it's one of the 5, birthplaces of blues. It's, so we're humbled in your presence. So yeah, it's basically with the whole Dumble thing and the blues thing, 100-watt amp. And this is like the first kind of when I was in my 20s, I saved up for this thing here. It cost me a lot of money because back in the day, it was just like the Robin Ford forum. That's how you found out about Dumbles, or the Amp Garage, But if you're not a techie person like myself, you would go to the Robin Ford forum and you'd ask loads of questions. And there's a lot of characters. If anyone knows the Gear page, the guy called can't remember his name now, but anyway, he's a landscape gardener, and he used to own a Dumble, an EOF 84 Dumble, and cool guy. So he was there, and yeah, Jimmy Jam, great to see you, and so that's how we learned about Dumble. It was like on forums, word of mouth. Now there's loads of YouTubers, there's lots of millennials, YouTubers talking about Dumbles, man. So the young know about it, and not just older guys know about the Dumble thing, But back in the day, the Dumble, it was really sort of under the radar. Nobody really knew about it. It was all kind of folklore, and so it was this mystical thing. So that's why these amps here are called the Mystic Blues, because the guy that started building these, called Tommy Cougar, who was out in Sweden, he actually went and visited. He went to Austin in Texas, and he went out to I don't know if he met Dumble, but anyway, he was like the first guy ever in the world to clone a Dumble. This guy here who made these amps was the first cloner, and Dumble found out, because Dumble was on the forums around that time, and he found out about Tommy, because Tommy was going, I think, under a different name, I don't know. Don't want to give the whole story away, but anyway, I think Dumble was pretty annoyed. But anyway, this guy was like the first, and his amps evolved, and they kept evolving, and this is kind of like the last incarnation of his Dumbles Overdrive Special before he quit making them. And it's just a really refined, overdriven sound, it's a beautiful sound, So so anyway, we're going to talk about blues and how you can best use a Dumble style amp, you know. And I'm going to tell you a few things here. I'll tell you a few home truths, right? Number one, if I'm playing slide guitar, I don't like to use a Dumble. I use the projector amps here. Okay. If I'm going to play something where I'm you know, it's like a. Sorry, I'm just not in tune today. Um, so where I'm going to use a Dumble is when I'm playing, you know, a little bit more sophisticated blues, and or just really trying to sing with my instrument. So I'm trying to be like a saxophone, you know. I'm not a guitar player anymore. I'm a sax player, or I know, you know, a soprano or a trumpet. You know, I'm trying to play trumpet. You know, so that's what I'm kind of trying to do with the overdriven sound from a Dumble. I'm trying to I know it sounds a bit what's the word, pompous, but I'm not trying to play guitar anymore. I'm trying to play intervals, and I'm trying to play. We're going to talk about intervals, but I'm trying to play intervals and trying to play these long notes. And sometimes I play fast, and I'm going to get a flow. I want to get a flow of notes, okay? And we're going to talk about that, and I'll show you how to do that. But that's basically it, and that's what the Dumble can do better than any amp in the world. The Dumble is perfect for that, because Marshalls are great. When you get a sweet spot of a Marshall, it sounds fantastic. But it's uncontrollable. A lot of the times it's uncontrollable. Some nights it's going to sound rubbish. You need to be in the right conditions. You need to be able to turn your amp up loud. But a Dumble is controllable. You can control it, you know, and you can get these tones at room. I'm out here at room level, and I can get beautiful sounds, you know. So, okay, we're saying, is there a use for a whammy pedal if you have vibrato? Because I play on a Les Paul, and I want to buy a whammy for a guitar with a Floyd Rose. Axel, good question. Well, let me just show you. I'm more of a, I just do a little wobble on my tremolo. So, you know, so do something like So that's kind of how I use the tremolo more. It's like almost like a tremolo pedal, you know. Sometimes I do that, but if I do that, you know, go crazy on it, it's at the last song on the last song of the gig, you know, where I've got my fuzz pedals and I max everything out. Or if I'm doing two guitar sets, and the last song on the first set and the last song on the second set, I'm gonna go crazy and put my overdrive pedal on, my fuzz on, and I'm going to go crazy and try and snap this off the guitar, and you know, just go, you know. So, but generally you don't want to do that, because if you do it on the first song, then you'll be spending the rest of the gig tuning up, you know, which is a pretty stupid thing to do. So, yeah, that's basically how I use a tremolo. But okay, vibrato is the most important thing, like our friend here, Eric says. Vibrato is everything. In blues, vibrato is everything. There's no point doing, you know, fancy guitar licks if you can't vibrate a note. You know, there's no point buying a pedal to get your vibrato, or unless the only time I would say, if you don't want to do a vibrato, if you want to play like Hank Marvin, you know. You know, fair enough. If you want to use your tremolo like Hank, then I can understand that. You know, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. But in general, you really want to be using vibrato. And this, I've done a little. Have I done a lesson on this? I think I have, but I'll tell you how to do it again. Apologies. So we're going to vibrato note. We're going to do. If I'm going to use. There's a few different techniques you need to use. You need to do it on your first finger, your second finger, and your third finger. I don't generally vibrate on my fourth finger. So there's 3 fingers you need to practice vibrato, and you need to go up. And you need to go down. So you go up. Second note. Down. Up. Third note. Down. Up. Okay. Down. Why do we need to go down and up? Well, what happens is, look, when you get to your first string here, you can't go down because you're going to pull the string off the fretboard, so you need to go up. Okay? But sometimes on the B string, if you're careful, it's really nice to do it down. So sometimes, you know, if I'm, depending on the situation, generally on the E string, we want to go up. Okay, the hardest technique probably on guitar is bending a string up to pitch and then vibrating. That's great because if you can vibrate and bend up, then you don't have to hit the note straight on, you know, which we all have to practice that from time to time. Obviously, if you want to hit the note straight on, play the note. Yeah, we'll talk about quarter harmony. That's getting into another realm, but we could definitely talk about that. The quarter harmony is a really cool way of spicing up chords. You know, your chord, especially it's a chordal thing for me. You know, that's what chords are. You know, back to this. So you know, if we're going to bend a note up, and then you add vibrato, you need two fingers to bend up, and I put my thumb over the neck because I'm using 11 gauge here. So same with my E string. So we've got a bit of fret problem here. I've only just had this guitar refretted, so it's fretting out on a few. I'll try on this note here. So there you go. You've got to bend up the tone and then vibrato. So that's probably the hardest. But don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up about it because this is the hardest technique on guitar is bending up and then adding vibrato. And that's why you've got people like Dave Gilmour and Eric Clapton. That's why they're famous. People say, why are they famous? Well, let me tell you. Because they can bend, number one, in tune, and number two, they can vibrate a note whilst bending it up, okay? If you guys can't do that, you need to work on it, okay? That's the deal here, you know? Unless you're doing, like I said, a Hank Marvin thing, or you're a classical guitarist, you know, then fair enough, then that's not your bag. But if you're here to play blues guitar, then you need to be bending up and vibrating the note. That's really, really important. So that's really the first thing, that's a technique. With vibrato. Let's answer some questions. Axel says, maybe a bottleneck better than whammy. I'm listening. You're teaching, man. Interesting. Okay, thank you. So Mozilla says, thoughts on a Trainer YSR1. I'm not familiar with that model, but Trainer, I think they're pretty good. They make pretty good products, you know. So let's get back to this. So we got a vibrato. So you pretty much vibrating a lot of the notes. If I play clean, you'll sort of get it more. So sometimes you need to be delicate. You don't want to go crazy with the vibrato. You want to be... You know, that's how you should be playing. What was great about Eric Clapton's playing, you know, when he did High Day. So you just let that note. So Eric Clapton's got this vibrato where, this is another little technique you can learn actually on your first finger, is, or your third finger. But the Eric Clapton style is letting the note, letting the string kind of pivot your hand. Rather than your hand being in control, it's almost like the string is in control. No, so that's just another little technique. I mean, you could bring it like B.B. King has got very fast. You know, so some people like that fast attack. You know, you've got the free guitarist who was much more. I can't even remember how he does it, but anyway, when I was younger, I studied these guys, you know, and then you get your own vibrato. This is the thing, guys. You got to get your own vibrato. How do you get your own vibrato? Practice, but in your mind, not on the guitar, in your mind, have a sound, manifest a sound in your head of how you want to vibrate, and then you'll be able to do it. You know. So then, I vibrate in a certain way. I have my own vibrato. It's slightly different. It's a bit of Clapton, it's a bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan, it's a bit of B.B. King, it's a bit of Peter Green. It's all mixed in there, and then that's how you get your vibrato. You know, so you've got to get your own vibrato. You might, you know, and it's down to taste, because you might like that fast. You know, there used to be a time where it was like, oh, that sounds horrible, but you know, it needs to be slow. And no, it's not, because I sometimes listen to some Nigerian funk records from the 1970s, and when they're vibrating, you know, it's like really shitty vibrato, really fast, and it suits the music perfectly. So if I'm going to be sort of playing if I want to sound like I'm playing 70s Peruvian cumbia music, you know? You know, you're going to change your vibrato. You're not going to have the crazy Clapton slow woman tone, you know? So again, you might want to change your vibrato depending on the sort of style of music. I mean, there's one vibrato I think it's hilarious, and that's Steve Vai's vibrato. It's so flamboyant and extravagant, and there's no way you could do it with heavy strings. You know he's got very maybe 9s or 8s, and it's kind of like over the top, but a beautiful vibrato nonetheless. But it's you know, his whole hand moves round. It's like, oh, you know, but that's what he wants to do. You know, he doesn't use that vibrato all the time. Sometimes he does another style of vibrato. So it's good to have a few different styles of vibrato that you can bring in. Okay, so we've talked about that. So we're going to talk about scales, because Ryan asks, how do you practice, Ramon, like in terms of scales or chords or any specific exercises? Well, I don't actually practice anymore, because you know, life gets in the way, and I'm pretty lazy when it comes to practicing. So I kind of work, at the moment I'm working on an EP of 5 60s pop psychedelic songs, you know, and I'll tell you more about it when it's nearly ready. And so I'll work on a project, and I'll work on some songs, and then I need to develop this playing that I need to develop my playing for those songs. I think I just repeated myself there. But you know what I mean, you know, so if I'm working in some jazz context or some blues context, then I'll tweak my playing, and I might have to practice some material, and I might have to practice some scales or run some scales that I used to know in order to, you know, get it into the neuron paths that I need in order to play that over that chord. So. Oh, thank you. Axel says thank you. Right, hi Ramon. First time to catch you. Bibi was great. I'm from Mississippi and have seen him many times. Man, Mississippi is like my spiritual home. I have 2 spiritual homes. My actual home is Essex in England, the east of England. But my 2 spiritual homes are Mississippi and also the Sahara Desert. You know, I think maybe in my previous life I was a Tuareg in the Sahara Desert, or a bluesman, you know, like a hobo in a train, going from train to train in the Mississippi Delta. You know, I think that was my previous life. You know, who knows? So let's just get back to the theory I need for that. So in blues, I have some real, and then I'm going to talk about it, what scales I use. So this is kind of like my favourite style of sort of blues playing, I guess. I'm going to set up the groove, yeah? Okay, so what was I doing there? Well, first of all, I'm playing over some chords. So it's called a jazz blues, and jazz blues is like a blues, but it's more for jazz musicians to play over. Because in jazz, blues is a really big. If you can't play blues, you can't play jazz, basically. But what they say is, if you want to be a jazz musician, you've got to learn the blues. All the great jazz musicians were brilliant. From Pat Metheny to Charlie Parker, they can all play amazingly over blues. B flat is a kind of sophisticated key for blues. It just sounds, and saxophone players love it. So we've got this chord here, and what I'm really doing is I'm thinking about arpeggios. There's going to be 3 things that I need to know. I need to know, number 1, the chord, number 2, the arpeggio, and number 3, I need to know the scale. So the chord obviously is B flat 13. I'm just going to do this on one chord because otherwise we'll be here all night. But if you're interested, I can do a video on the whole thing. That's my chord, B flat 13. Okay, there's 3 types of chords. There's major, dominant, and minor. Okay, that's all I need to know. That's the only information I need to know. What is this chord? It's a dominant chord. So I need to know a dominant scale. Well, first of all, we can play the B flat Mixolydian scale. But if you don't want to think of it as a B flat Mixolydian scale, you can think of it as an E flat major scale. So however you want to think about it, you can play an E flat major scale over that chord, or you can play a B flat Mixolydian. Let's play the B flat Mixolydian. We're going to go B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G. I'm sorry, my mistake. A flat to B flat. And just repeat it. If you don't know that scale, guys, just play that scale like 1,000 times today. Just go. I'm going to play it really slowly so you can play along. B flat Mixolydian scale. Please, guys, learn this. Learn the scale. Play it 1,000 times. If you do not know it, punish yourself. If you don't know that scale, punish yourself right now and just play that scale 1,000 times. And you know what I mean. Okay, right, guys, come on. What's going on? Let's go back to some comments. Are you playing? Is that an ESP? Well, it's a navigator, but. It's an ESP. It's an ESP navigator made after 19. Here's the deal, guys. What I'm going to do, I'm uploading a video on. So we've got that Mixolydian scale. Okay. Play that. Just play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. Then we're going to play some licks. My favourite lick, this is my favourite lick, okay? I'm going to start on the A flat. I'm going to come to a D, F, G, A flat. Okay, that's my favourite lick for the Mixolydian. So when you're doing like a funky thing, I'm just using those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Okay, so you got B flat. So you know the chord B flat 13, but it doesn't matter about 13. Forget about that. Is it a dominant chord? Yes, it's a dominant. So we play a dominant scale. There's only 3 scales: minor scale. Well, actually, there's more scales, but we're going to go into a minor chord, and you play a minor scale. A major chord, you play a major chord. A dominant chord, you play a dominant scale. So keep things simple, guys. We keep it really simple. So that's really how you get the sound. Now, when you go to the next chord, we've got an E flat 9 chord. This is also a dominant chord, but now we're in the key of A flat major. Okay, so then we have to learn to play the mixolydian mode over that chord, which goes like this. So we've got 2 mixolydian modes. Why have we got 2 mixolydian? Well, in the chord scale, for that 7 notes, don't want to get too complicated here, but there's only 1 dominant chord per chord scale. So when we find another dominant chord, i.e. B flat going to E flat, we have to change key. But again, I can go into all this stuff because I practice 5 scales, 5 shapes, which I'm going to show you right now. Really simple, and you can pause this video and you can come back and you can learn these 5 shapes. This is all the white notes on a piano, which we're going to put on the guitar. So shape number 1 is this. That's C major. That's C major. That's C major. That's C major. Guess what? That's C major. So there's 5 C major shapes. These are 5 patterns. I call them pattern number 1, pattern number 2, pattern number 3, pattern number 4, and you guessed it, pattern number 5. Okay. And with this system of this is my own system. This is the Goose system. With 5 patterns, you can play jazz. You can play crazy blues. You can do anything with these 5 patterns. It's incredible what you can do with this amazing knowledge. And every single day when I wake up, actually this is a total lie, this is what I would like to do every single day when I wake up and have my coffee. Well, you can see that I've practiced these scales, yeah? So there's 5 scales, and then you have these 5 patterns. So over this chord here, over this chord, that's pattern number 2. Over this chord, it's going to be pattern number 5. So on and so forth. You get the idea. This is a method. I can go into this in another video, but that's how I play. If you want to know how I personally play blues, that's how I play. Now, how do I make it sound bluesy? Because that's just scales. We're going to use licks. We're going to use arpeggios, and we're going to use vibrato. And we're going to use a cool Dumble sound. So again. Combining some Peter Green licks, some Eric Clapton licks, I'm combining some arpeggios, and I'm combining the scale shapes, And you put that together, and it seems complicated, but it's not. It's really easy. And the beauty of doing this, rather than relying on one pentatonic scale, or rather than relying on just licks, is you've got total freedom. You'll never play the same thing twice. I mean, you can rely on, you're going to have your own little licks that you're always going to put in. Like this year, for some reason, I'm doing that a lot. 2019, I didn't do that. 2020, I started doing that a lot. So, you know, you're always going to have. I always say that Gary Moore always said that you have 5 to 7 licks, because you can't remember the 8th lick. That's going to go, and then you're going to bring a new lick in. You know, so. And even if you listen to Pat Metheny, you know, the top jazzer in the world at the moment, you know, he has his like stock 4 or 5 licks that he does on every solo. You know, maybe not all 5, but he'll do one of those sort of solos, one of those sort of licks in the solo. So that's really the advice I can give you is learn those learn some patterns, and I can do a full course on this, going from beginner, from 0 to hero. We can do the whole course, and I can make you guys into amazing blues guitarists, much better than myself, if you want me to do that. You know, but there's so many people doing lessons online that it's like, you know, why bother? What have I got to offer? But if you guys want me to do it, I can certainly do that. Right, so let's go back to some comments here. So, how we go? Bradley says, I really enjoy your show. Hello from the US. Hi, Bradley. Great, and thank you for coming onto the show. Mozilla says, I'm a big fan of ESP brands. They are sweet. ESP Custom Shop these are the samurai sword makers of Japan. The you know, people overlook the ESP. You know, ESP actually have a college. They train young guitar makers in Tokyo to become amazing luthiers. So, you know, ESP are really, really great. Jay Trem says, punish myself. I'm already 67 years old and trapped in my house. Isn't that punishment enough? Jay Trem, I'm sorry, but that's a feeble excuse. You know, you need to practice that scale. Trust me. You know, I mean, I'm learning new things all the time. I'm in my 40s, and I'm learning stuff. You know, all the time. So there you go. You know, there's no excuse about age. You know, whether you're 19. You know, and Robin Ford's got a different way of playing. You know, and he changed his way of playing. Has changed through his career, and you know, he's a much better player now than when he was, say, 21. You know, that's a fact. Go and watch him on YouTube when he was 21. He was alright. He was pretty good, but he's better now. You know, his peak was when he was 45. I think when you're in between 40 and 48 is probably your peak of, you know, your dexterity. You know, but in terms of musicality and maturity and all the other stuff, maybe when you get older, you know, when you're 67, it's going to be your peak. So somebody else says, Buy Guitar says, now you can remove the selector. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about that because I'm always having it there, and I've wired it wrong. I wired this myself. It's a Mojo pickup, and I have to have it up, so it's actually getting to annoy me. Maurice says, "Hey all, hi Roman." Hey Maurice, where you from, Maurice? Are you France, Italy? What's going on? Johnny Beck says, "Here's a virtual toast." Thank you. Yes. Visible, yeah. James Bond says, haha, 0 to hero. I want to be a hero. Man, let's be a hero. Let's do this, guys. Come on, let's do this. Mozilla says, I'm the definition of 0. No, that's not true. Come on, Mozilla. Mozilla, no, it's not true, man. You're a hero, man. You're a hero in the making. You just, I can tell you're probably young, so you're probably just getting into the game, you know. Maurice, eres de Argentina. Mi padre es de Argentina también. Él fue de una barrio al lado El Pasco, que es 1 kilómetro de Temperley, en Buenos Aires. Y mi tío vive en Lomas de Zamora. Y yo fui al colegio en Temperley para 1 año, en la escuela comercial. Es al lado de la estación en Temperley. Okay, Johnny says, know anyone who started a blues band in the 70s? Started a blues band at 70. Well, hey Johnny, I produced an album for a guy called Boo Boo Davis. Guys, if you check out a song, it's called Boo Boo Davis, I Stole the Booty. And I co-wrote it with Boo Boo Davis, and I produced it for him, and I played guitar on it. And that song actually got on a TV series called Sons of Anarchy, and I earned a little bit of he was like he was an old man when we did that. It was his first album or second album. He was an old man. He was from a tractor driver in Mississippi. So you're never too old. Never too old. Mr. Will says, I play guitar sometimes. The goose stepper scale shapes looks very good. Mr. Will, this is Mr. Will. I want to say Mr. Will is a great guitarist. We've got some professional, great guitar players. Well, everyone's a great guitarist on this channel that's coming here, so thank you. Mozilla says, I'm 49 and just getting back into guitar. Okay, cool. I feel like the world has passed me by and my skills are rusty, super rusty. No, Mozilla, that's not true, because the beauty is in the simplicity and the soul and the spiritual nature of your playing. It's not to do with speed, and you can have speed, but you've got to mean the notes. You've got to have a reason, and it's about flow. Letting the music got to flow out of you. Bob Marley. I haven't got any choice quotes from Bob Marley. I wish I did. I've got terrible memory, but I'm sure Bob Marley's got a proverb about it. But someone like Bob Marley, he just did this, man. He just did. But it was just literally. I know I Shot the Sheriff would be. I mean, when I play I Shot the Sheriff, I want to go. I shot the sheriff, but I didn't want you to you. Oh, oh. But when I see Bob Marley doing it, he's just doing. Just very, very simple. So, you know what I mean? And it was amazing music. So, it doesn't. It's kind of playing the right thing at the right time and letting the music flow out of you. Like Ira Burnside, check him out. He's got the best groove ever. I see a lot of guys, young dudes on Instagram, and they're kind of going. It's very, very clever, but it's. Just hearing an Ira Burnside thing is 10 times more groovy, more soulful, and I had the good fortune of playing with Pee Wee Ellis, who wrote all that sort of stuff, And when I first met him, I tried to. I tried to be the hero, and he was like, "Hey man, that ain't funk." And I was like, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Willis. What shall I do?" He goes, "Hey man, play one note. I'm gonna give you the note." It was that. It was literally one crotchet, one bar, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. That was my punishment for being a total, a-hole when I was younger. For thinking, "Oh yeah, man, Pee Wee Ellis." You see some funk guys going. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really needed, It's not going to make people dance. It's not going to add to the song. It's not going to add to the experience. So, you've got to take your ego out of it. That's where the spiritual nature of music comes. You take your ego, which is a lot of Hinduism and Buddhist mentality. You take your ego out of yourself and then you serve the music and so forth. But as players, we need to really push the boat. We need to play fast, and when we're at home, we need to shred. We need to push the envelope, push the boundaries, go over the top. When you're practicing, play a scale and make a mistake, but bring it back, then bring it back. So when you're running a scale, so you can play it slow perfectly as I make a mistake. But then you want to play really fast and go all the way to the top. So that when you're at the gig and you have to play that melody, you're perfectly, you're on it. But at home you were shredding that scale, but on the gig you're making music. Yeah, exactly. So you got to transcend into the music, and that's where the spiritual nature comes. If you're thinking, if you're trying to be clever, if you're on stage going, okay, I'm gonna play this really fancy lick, and I'm gonna blow everyone off the stage. I'm gonna, no, I'm gonna put that in there because it's fancy. And guys, come on, it's not music. It's not music. So less is more. The great bebop is another thing, but when I think in the context of guitar, slow down. You know, Hank Marvin, play a melody. You know, it's about melodies, learning a melody. You know. Let's go to some comments. So that was an answer to Mozilla. I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. Mozilla says, apologies guys for ranting there. I'm working on rebuilding my skills and equipment. My Mesa cab is supposed to arrive today. Oh, wonderful news, fantastic. Well, you've got to have the gear. You've got to have the gear. I mean, it's not really about the gear because I was having a conversation with a friend today, and he said that he played for a really awful amp at a gig. It was a Gorilla amp. It was something terrible. It was like the worst amp ever at a concert. But he plugged in and he got an amazing sound because he turned it full whack, and in the context of the gig, it was amazing. So your playing's got to be strong, and then you get into your gear, you know. So here we go. Johnny Beck. Trouble is, playing fast tends to be an audience pleaser. No, don't do it. Don't. You're a musician, so you gotta have that. You got to hold yourself back. You know. I sometimes I slip. Sometimes I slip up myself, and I shred, and I shouldn't. You know. But generally, the great players like Robin Ford, man, Larry Carlton, those guys, they play the right thing at the right time. You know, they never become unprofessional. And, you know, sometimes you need to play with fire, and you need that. So you have to practice that at home, or you have to practice it at a gig. You know, you need to have that passion and fire. Sometimes you need to go to that place, but other times you rein it in. You know, and you're got to be, you know, tasteful. You know. James, great to see you. Wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Maurice says technique is not music. That's correct. Technique is not music. You learn the technique and then you forget it. You learn the theory, then you forget it. But if you know, you have to learn it first, you know, and then you can forget it afterwards. Maurice says fast playing is an audience pleaser. Ask BB King. Well, there you go. I mean, you know, BB King was, you know, getting back to arpeggios, what I was saying before. So, okay, we've got an arpeggio. So, say for example, we're playing Thriller's Gone. With that kind of song, you want to keep that groove. You know, there's obviously different versions of this. Some are more funked up than others, depending on BB King's era. But you know, you keep that going. So on and so forth. So the great thing, you know, another little tip when I'm playing blues is I try to keep the groove in my soloing, and it really helps if you can play some chords along with that. So if you learn like different grooves like funk, you know, there's a every day I have the blues. Every day I have the blues. When you worry about my baby, it gets in my head to lose. You know, when you're playing, what I find really, really important when I'm practicing blues is to play the chords and then play the soloing and play chords, and really that kind of comes back to the Delta blues. You know, where Robert Johnson was playing chords, and I think that's a really helpful thing when you're playing with a band and you are free. When you are free, you know, you've got a drummer and a bass player behind you, then you can, you know, you're like a spaceship or an aircraft. You're going to take off and fly away, you know. But when you practice, always try to keep that. Every day I have a blues. You know, sing along. When you worry about my baby, yeah, it's your hate. You got tap from. And change the next chord. Next chord. You know, so you're really playing the chords, you're playing the changes, and that's really where you want to get to when you're soloing. For me, with that kind of blues, you know, that kind of more sophisticated, we call uptown blues, the B.B. King style blues, and that, you know, if you can bring in some of those arpeggios and some of those shapes that I was talking about, then it becomes really great fun. And you know, you're playing the chords, and obviously when you're with the band, you don't have to play the chords; you can just solo, you know, then you can fly, you know. But I think if you play the chords at home and you practice, you know, practice timing and knowing where you are, you know, even if you've got the chords just in your head and you're tapping your foot, that's really important. Okay, so Johnny says, please vent to your heart's content. Well, we're going to talk about Corona. Let's talk about Corona, man. Guys, tell me, there was no milk in the shops. It was like crazy. I mean, I refuse to buy food because I think about the old people here in England, and they can't carry much, you know. So for me, I'm just going to buy a few things because, you know, it's just you know, me at the moment here, and I don't need much, you know. And also, you know, if we run out of food, then we're going to lose weight. So it's a bonus. It's a bonus all round, you know. So that's I hadn't drinking tea with milk for the last 3 days, and today finally I could get some coffee and have some milk in my coffee and milk in my tea, because as you know, an Englishman needs to drink tea. When I'm in the Sahara Desert, I drink tea with milk. You know, even if it's the hottest day in the world, I need my English tea. It's just the way things are here, you know. So there we go. Okay, the voice is not loud enough, so I'm going to talk a bit closer here. Alex says, I love artists who smash like John Five, Kurt and Pete Townsend. Yeah, don't be afraid to hit the guitar when we need a bit of Sid, you know, Sid Vicious. Okay, he's one of my influences, not in terms of his human behaviour, because he wasn't a particularly person to aspire to, but that raw aggression and disregard and abandonment can be really interesting if you put that in your music. So yeah, definitely to chaos. I like chaos, and it's almost, I like avant-garde, and almost avant-garde kind of on the extremes of avant-garde goes into that kind of Sid Vicious territory. Morphine, great band. If anyone know Morphine, can anyone remember a band called Morphine? Great band, you know. Here we go. So let's just look at some of these comments, which are pretty good. Morris says, good music is an audience pleaser, yeah. Axel says, get your own style playing is the best way. For me, play rock, one trash, one rasta. Yes, couldn't have said it better myself. James says, I'm just realising how much practice I need to do. Well, me too. We all need to practice. But like I said, I don't really practice per se. The way it works for me is I set myself a goal. What do I want to play? What song do I want to play today? Or, you know, do I want to write a song in a certain, getting up and just practicing a scale? There's no point doing that. There's really no point. So you need to kind of find out, something that's going to interest you, a piece of music or something, and then you study for that piece of music. You get your game together for that piece of music. That's the way we do it. Mozilla says, I need to practice too. Here we all need to practice. So, like Jeff Beck, yes. Jeff Beck, I'm sure he doesn't practice. I'm sure he's tinkering with cars and all that stuff. But when he needs to earn some money and do some touring, because he's running out of money to pay his bills and his cars, alimony, whatever, I don't know his life. But when he needs some money, he's going to go and practice, for that tour. He's going to get himself sorted. And work out his songs and work out parts for those songs, and maybe work out something that he wants to play live to, impress us all. And then he's going to practice. But when he's off season, it's probably doubtful he's going to pick up a guitar. He's going to be doing something else with his life. Maybe he'll strum it. I've seen like Andy Summers. He's in his nice house in LA, and he's got his Strat. He's a guy I think that plays every day, all day long. There's some guitars. I don't. I only play guitar when I need to play. Fortunately, I'm a working musician, so I play every day, and I like playing. I love playing, but I love to give myself a little reason to play. Rather than just practice. Just running scales. That would be very boring. So let's go back to some more comments. Mr. Will says, Ramon sir, there is no shortage like in World War II. It's just people are buying all the stock and drink coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. I need my coffee, and I can't function without coffee. Morris says, rant about the importance of mistakes in creativity. Well, we just talked about Sid Vicious. And that comes again to pushing the envelope. And sometimes there needs to be chaos. It's a concept. And in music, and you can have a really refined pop song, or rock song, but inside that song can be part where it is really chaos, and it's utter chaos, and then the amazing thing is how you bring it back into the smooth, well orchestrated pop song, but you have a part in there which is chaos. Day in the Life by the Beatles is a classic example of chaotic, where George Martin lets the orchestra play some crazy stuff. And there's an interesting thing about that song, because I think it's Day in the Life. Is it Day in the Life? Pretty sure it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is the one with Paul McCartney. I woke up, Canada, passed a call across my head. So, and George Martin, with that, he recorded the orchestra, and it was slightly fast. And to John Lennon's credit, he said, no, it's not right. Speed, do something with a tape machine and bring it, the speed, so that the two sections of the song work together. I'm not talking about Paul McCartney's part, I'm talking about the orchestration crazy part at the end. And that was, John Lennon, kudos for having a great ear there, and for organising that. So where are we? Which head and cab are you playing through? Well, I play through a Mystic Blues. Yeah, the title of this video is Mystic Blues. So Dumbles. So this is a Mystic Blues 100 watt amp. The 100 watt amps are very open. I've got a 50 watt, just this turquoise colour one. This is a 50 watt, but this is the 100 watt. And basically, I said to Tommy Cougar, not Tommy Cooper, Tommy Cougar, who built this amplifier. He's a genius when it comes to amps, and these style of amps in particular. I said, can you build me an amp that sounds like Robin Ford in 2001 at the Paris New Morning concert? That was the brief that I gave to Tommy. And he said, no, I can't do that, but I can do this. So he gave me this. And it's pretty close. It's not exact, but it's, if you watch Robin Ford, he's playing a Telecaster, but for me, it gets that tone. So it's 4 6L6s. It's got, and the TAD tubes in there, nothing fancy. I think there is an NOS Sovtech or an NOS RCA tube. It's the classic overdrive special. It's, I just got a clean sound, which is this. And I popped the preamp. This has got a push pull on the presence here. You pull it out and you get a little bit more hi-fi. If you want more hi-fi still, you put the preamp boost on. And then you've got an overdrive channel. This is just overdrive on, no preamp boost. That's great for riffing, and then when you want to solo, so when you want to solo, you do that. You put the preamp boost on the overdrive and the preamp boost on, and then you get a singing, beautiful. That's where you get the saxophone. That's where you get the tone. Okay, so where are we going? Can I play some Django Reinhardt? Of course I can. We love. So with Django, he was obviously had two fingers. A lot of the harmonic minor scale, but using arpeggios again. And little techniques like that. But I'm no expert at Django. I kind of avoided Django because to become a full-on clone of him, because there's other guys that can do it incredibly well, and you've got the French Gypsy guys, and it's kind of their thing. But I think it's really worth studying a few of his songs. There was one song called Rose Room, which has got a beautiful version which goes. Okay, long time since I've done that, but anyway. Yeah, so here we go. Let's do some comments. Mr. Will says, easy sir, I tend to find a lot of my techniques and exercises from things I want to learn rather than technical exercises, like solving a problem of how to execute a phrase, rather than working through the book of scales. Mr. Will, you couldn't have said it better myself. Ryan Moore says, Yellow Jackets. Yeah, Yellow Jackets, an incredible band. Robin Ford obviously formed them. Great song, Revelation. great tune, Revelation, from Yellow Jackets. Mozilla said, thank you. I have never heard of Mystic Blues amps. That is why I missed it in the title. Yeah, Mystic Blues amps, that's one of these. So Tommy makes them. They're not cheap. They're not expensive, but they're not cheap. They're great. You know, they're just a Dumble clone. Stereotone make clones. Two Rock makes them really. Two Rock bounce back with this Eli guy making great amps, and Bill from Two Rock is a great guy. Check out Bill Crinard. That's it. I'm trying to remember his surname. Bill Crinard. He's a good friend of my friend, and I got to talk to Bill. And Bill modified these two projector amps here. Bill sorted them out for me, so he's a great guy. Please show sometime the routing for your gold foils before going in that direction. Okay, yeah, I'll do a whole gold foil update video, because that'll be good to go back to that. Thanks for that suggestion. James, should I stop watching and go and practice? Yes is the answer, but if you want to stay a little bit, practice along with me, but otherwise, yes, you should go and practice. But if you can practice, run some scales and watch this at the same time, then yeah, it's great. Steve Martin, you're chilling, bro. Yeah, Steve, we're just chilling, we're just hanging out here, we're having a good time. Hero says, also, would it be interesting to have a template for a pickguard with a gold foil in the neck? Also would be interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool idea, actually. I talked to my friend Darren Horton, who makes Daniel's guitars, because maybe he can help you out with that, because not something I could do, but maybe he can do a trace, and then we can send that out to you as a PDF, or with my other friend Brian. He's pretty good at that. Maurice says, Cream Spoonful. Yes, great tune. I love Spoonful. You know, there's a few guitars that you need. You need the Stratocaster. You know, you need one of these. Okay. I've done a video called I Hate PRS Guitars, so apologies to anybody that owns PRS guitars. It's totally a personal thing, and I left that video up because it's good to not just say everything's great and you love everything. It's good sometimes to have an opinion, you know. And for me, I hate PRS guitars because I love Strats, I love Telecasters, I love Les Pauls, I love SGs, I love Gretschers, I love Guilds, I love 335s, I love Explorers, I love Firebirds, I love Juniors, I love all the, you know, the cheap Tisco, Guitones, Futuramas, I love the Hofners, I love the Swedish strange guitars, can't remember what they're called now, the gold foil crazy thing, but the Rickenbacker, Epiphone guitars are amazing, you know. So those are the great guitars for me, and a Strat and a 335 and a Les Paul and an SG, they're your kind of staple sounds, you know. If you want to get a bit freaky, then you go for Epiphone. There's some Epiphone do some really good vintage stuff. I'm saving up now to buy an Epiphone archtop from the 1950s, an Emperor Regent. That's the next guitar I want to get after my, 335 and a Regent are, are high on my list. And also, check out getting a handmade guitar if you want something really weird or something very personal. Get a handmade guitar. But for me, PRS are kind of like a redundant guitar. They don't really. It's kind of like some people get them as a second guitar, which is what I don't understand. It's like they get a Strat and then they get a PRS. It's like, well, what about the Telecaster? What about the 335? What about the Firebird? What about the Junior? There's a million guitars you want to get before you get PRS. So that's really my complaint about PRS. But no offense to anyone that's got a PRS, because I don't wish to be political. Right. So where are we here? Have I missed any? Which head and cap? So the cabinet for this head, this is the head. The cabinet that I'm playing through has got an Altec 417H ceramic 100-watt speaker, which is my favourite speaker. What that does, delay on that. So it gives me a very hi-fi sound, because that's the sound I want when I'm working with this amp here, with the Dumble style amp. I want a hi-fi sound. That's the ethos. I don't want it to sound like a Tweed Sun Studio sound. That's this deal here. So this half of the room here is all about Sun Studios, 1950s, Roy Orbison, Elvis Presley, Howlin' Wolf, Johnny Cash. Sun Studios is all here, okay, with the projector amps, the Celestion Blue, this Crucial Audio, slapback delay, valve delay, whatever, the Victoria reverberant, all that stuff there. It's 1950s. From here, it's all hi-fi. This is a hi-fi sound. This is, the cab, the Celestions, G1265s, Bob cabinet. We've got the Altec Lansing. The Altec Lansing with the aluminium comb was the speaker, which was really refined to get those beautiful chimey highs. It's all about refining a hi-fi sound, which is what this amp does. It's a hi-fi crystal clear sound. It has a little bit of grit in it, but it's pretty much a hi-fi, beautiful. It's a beautiful hi-fi sound. It's a slightly different ethos, and one doesn't get, is not better than the other. It just depends on the music you're making. When I want to play some sophisticated blues, and like I said, have a voice that sings, have a singing voice, then I'm going to use this amp here. When I want to be gritty and nasty and fuzz, I don't really use fuzzes through this. I use fuzzes through this, and I want the sound to collapse and be snarly and horrible, and sometimes, but very Sun Studio sort of tweed and those beautiful, tweedy tones, chewy cleans. And then I'm going to be using this stuff, which is totally lo-fi. So you've got the two different worlds, and that's what's a really good thing I think people should do more, is have, Mozilla says, should a Strat and a Tele sound use different gauges of strings or the same gauge? Great question. I like to keep things really simple. I like to keep this is a great comment that's come up. I like to keep things really simple. So when I'm playing standard tuning, which is E, A, D, G, B, E, then I'm going to use 11s with 6100s. Although these have got a heavy bottom on them, and I don't like a heavy bottom. I like a light. I've got a kind of weird taste, so I like 11s, low action with 6100 for single guitar. I mean, some of my guitars have vintage frets, but that's just because I don't want to ruin them. But if I'm going to go for a refret, it's 6100 frets, 11s on there with a 48 bottom, not a 52. I don't like going too heavy. It's silly, really. You don't need it. And low action. That's it. And then I can bend easy. If you have high action with 11s, you're looking for trouble. You're looking for some arthritis in later life. So keep it. These are thick strings, but it's low action. It's easy to manage because I've got high frets, big frets, and it's kind of easier than 10s are with high action. So something to research is your strings. And I like that, because why am I playing 11s and not 9s? I hear you ask, or 8s. There's a reason why. Because when I play jazz guitar, only jazz guitar, I'm not a great jazz player, but I do play a little bit of jazz. So when I'm playing jazz guitar, I'm generally playing 12 flat wounds. Okay? So what happens with 12 flat wounds is you get a certain feedback of the string. And you're not going to get that with 9s. You're going to get no tension of a 9. So especially when you're running, it's harder to play all that. So for me anyway, it's harder to make the jump from playing, say for example, jazz to blues. You know what I mean? But that's not to say, it could be Mike Stern, especially Mike Stern's had a few accidents. Maybe he's playing 9s now. I don't know what Mike Stern's playing. Mike Stern does all the questions here. So what we got here? Do you know Daddy Mojo guitars? No, I don't. I think they make real cool guitars, and possibly they are your cup of tea. I'll check them out. I think maybe I have heard of something, but it's always interesting to hear to check out some new guitars. So I'll definitely check them out. Thank you very much. Marie says, ever heard of a guy called Roberto Grella? No, but I will check him out. Thank you, Maurice. I'm always interested in players from. Is he from South America? It'd be interesting. I like a lot of Italian. The guys from the '60s that did all the Italian Western movies, the Sergio, whatever his name was, movies. Big fan of all those. Down, down, down. All those guys that played that. Great guitar players, and I'm a big fan of theirs. You know, I'm going to do a video actually on some of those guys very soon. Tuesday is just as bad. Says, what is the most expensive chords you know? I'm not. You know, when I play chords, I like to keep it very simple. I'm a very simple chord player. I don't learn lots of different voicings, to be honest. I should do, but I don't. I just learn the standard stop shapes that everyone else knows. Maybe, you know, I collect sometimes dominant chords, and I like the way. One of my favourite chords has always been the way Robin Ford. I like this off Robin Ford. So it's a G13 flat 9. So when you're going like an E, this is a movement from E minor to A dominant. So E minor 9. Sorry, E minor 7 chord. You've got that triad. Drop it 1 fret. Because Robin Ford loves the half step, whole step theory, the diminished scale, upper semitone, theory. So, and if you look at the pattern, it's a flat 9 there, 7, major 6, 5th. So that chord there, if I can remember how to do it, there's your flat 9. 5, 1. You know, that's where you'd use it in that. That's why Robin Ford loves that chord. So that's a chord. There's some other sort of strange chords where I played that one a minute ago. It's a dominant, you know, and so on. So I like the sort of soloing with a diminished shape, and then you put the little inversions of the minor, and that's a West Montgomery thing. So I use that sometimes. That's, you know, if you're that kind of thing, which a lot of jazz guitarists are hip to. Yeah, but generally I'm pretty simple. You know, just I don't say to be a great chord master of chords, but I know enough to play what I need to play. You know, if I don't know a chord, if I'm playing a jazz standard, a great book. I've got this book here, which is pretty tatty, called The Real Book. You know, and then you look down here. You want to play a song. Say, for example, song here, a good standard for Wave, for example. Wave's a great tune because it's got some interesting chords in it. So you got D major 7, a B. Now that over that chord there, you play the diminished scale, but you play B flat diminished. So you're going to. So instead of it being the half step whole step, it's a whole step half step. So if you were soloing, it'd be D major 7. So it'd be. You know. So wave is a. if you know your chords and you can play your jazz standards, and so that's really again, it's a means to an end. There's no point knowing loads of fancy chords and never have a use for them. You know, you just learn the chords that you need to learn the songs that you need to play. You know. So let's go back to here. Have you ever heard, yeah, we've done that one. Was that a 1x12 or 1x15? That was a 1x12 Altec Lansing 417H. It's my favourite speaker in the world. The Altec Lansing ceramic, not the, what's the other one called? Not ceramic, Alnico. Not the Alnico one, but the ceramic one, which was the last incarnation, the one that Santana now uses still. That is the best speaker ever made. For me, if you're going to use a Dumble used to use those speakers before we changed to EVs. For me, EVs are too loud. They're crazy. Why would you want an EV nowadays? It's pointless. So the Altec is softer, it's chimier, it's quieter, it's beautiful. It's the best speaker ever made. Is the Altec Lansing 417, in my opinion. Okay, Argentinian guitar, tango player, one of the best. Yeah, I'm not great at tango guitar playing. I wish I was. It's a beautiful style, Maurice. So muchas gracias. Tuesday is just as bad. Thank you very much. Very kind. Throw some OD on. I wrote that one down. Altec 417H. Yeah, please. It's the best speaker in the world. I can't. You know, I don't want to tell too many people about it because they're hard to get hold of. But Great Plains Audio make a replica of it. They've still got the original jigs or machines. But the Altec Lansing is the best speaker. EVs, I hate them. I think they're rubbish. You know, they were great in the 80s. You know, when in the 80s, bands used to play horrendously. Even to rehearse, they would play horrendously loud, and that's when you needed an EV. But nowadays, where are you going to use an EV? You know, unless you're going to turn it up and play really, like a really loud rock band. I don't think you're ever going to use an EV. So the Altec Lansing has just got the best of both. You know, it's got the best of the Alnico sort of tradition, but they've voiced it. It's like a JBL, so it's like a more friendly JBL. I think they're a little bit too. Again, you have to play them super loud. You know, for JBLs to sound great, you need to really play loud. But Altec Lansings are just a bit softer, just nicer. You know, obviously you're gonna have to burn them in, but they are a great speaker. Aquila Rosa says, Altec is what Randy used. I think you're correct. He did use the Altec, and the same ones that I'm using. I'm pretty sure he used the ceramic ones. Mozilla says, great info on equipment versus style. I need to know that stuff. Thanks. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Hero says, do you... no, we've done that one. So, yeah, I think I'm up to date at the moment. So we're going to just... we're going to wrap this up in 10 minutes. We're going to say 10 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap this up. So we talked about the amp. We talked about blues playing. We talked about some of the scales that I use, vibrato. We've talked about why we need to use a Dumble amp for blues, you know. Well, we don't need to. We don't need to use a Dumble amp, but it's a great thing. You know, when you have a Dumble amp, you've got that singing overdrive tone. So, what can I play? What can I play, you guys? We'll do a slow blues, yeah. We'll do a kind of Peter Green-esque blues on this Strat. Why have I only got one pickup? So I had to sell the pickups to pay for this guitar, because when I bring them over from Japan, I get taxed a lot of money. So I think £200, and these had some amazing Samuel Duncan antiquities, because this guitar was probably made in 1996 or 97. So they were old antiquities. They were probably the first one, and they were sounding amazing. And I had this one Mojo pickup lying around, and I thought, well, I'll sell the 3 to pay for the tax, and then I've got that one pickup, so at least it will work. And then I can buy some other pickups. And I actually bought a neck pickup from, it's called Custom Labs. It's an ESP Custom Labs pickup, and they make Strats and humbuckers. And apparently, it's like £170 for one pickup. Okay, super expensive. So I'm going to report back to you guys and let you know if this pickup is any good, because it's like ESP has a Custom Lab shop where they make guitars which are pretty expensive. So I'm going to get hold of one of these guitars in the next week and put it in here in the neck. So I've only got one. So I'll have to save up and buy a pickup here for the middle. But when I get this neck pickup, I'm going to tell you guys what it's like, because I think I've got a feeling this is going to be an incredible find, and nobody's ever played before on YouTube at least a custom lab ESP pickup. So it's going to be very exciting to try this for the first time, you know. But generally, this is a Mojo pickups. Mojo Mark is in the UK, and he does these great pickups. So I've been using, you know, if I don't have a vintage pickup from the 50s or 60s, then I will use a Mojo pickup. And that's because when I meet somebody, when I'm working with somebody, a maker, and I like what they do, and I like them as a person, and they're good to me, and I'm good to them. We have a relationship, and it's nice, and then I'm loyal to them, you know. And this is not stuff. You know, I bought this pickup. I bought it secondhand off Reverb. So it's not like I'm getting free pickups from Mark. Mark's done a few favors for me, but now, you know, it's payback time, and he's doing very well. He's doing very well for himself. But I like him as a person. He's very busy, so we don't talk anymore because he's too busy to talk to me. But he's a cool guy. He's got a cool vibe. He's aura. He's got a great aura, and because of that, I'm going to carry on using these pickups. You know, it's not just sometimes. Maybe there are better pickups than Mark's pickups from Mojo pickups. I don't know, but I've got a kind of like a thing that I like. I'm a man of habit, and I like to use one thing and use it on all my guitars. So that's why I use the same fret wire, the same strings, same action. And I try to keep things pretty much the same. I have lots of different guitars, but they're all the same. You know, they've all got there's a familiarity, and obviously then the guitar has its own sort of quirky elements to it. You know, so let's see. Playing the key of A minor. Oh, let's do let's do a C minor, like a bossa sort of a mambo Peter Green thing. So that's kind of a nice sort of Peter Green sort of thing you can get with it. But you can also get some really cool of sounds, you know, using your volume as well. Obviously, some. All those kind of tricks, you know. Okay, let's go to some comments to finish this off, guys. So, Akila says, I was a Randy Rhoads or nut for a while. I did not have the outtakes. My 1959 RR blew up day after it arrived. I mostly use plugins now. Apartment, no loud amps these days. Can't get away with it like we used to. That's very true. You know, you can use Pro Tools, those kind of things now. You don't really need amps. You can use IRs and all that stuff. Me personally, I prefer the amps if I can. You know, there's nothing like having an amp. And the great things about these is you can get that overdrive sound. It's not a loud sound. You know, so it's a nice manageable volume that you can get these beautiful tones. And it's really because of this Dumble platform, this idea. You know. Mozilla, this is the first time I see your videos. Thank you very much for entertaining and for me. It's a pleasure. Do you prefer open back cabs or closed back cabs? I think there's a place for both of them. This is a closed back cabinet. It's a Thiel cabinet. And Mesa Boogie actually do a Thiel cabinet. I think they were like the first company to, you know, professionally put one out. They can work really well in certain rooms. Sometimes I prefer open back, you know, so I've got a closed back with the Altic, but I prefer to have also a. I'm going to get eventually an open back with an Altic as well, you know, and yeah, but both have their places. Nice clean tone, clean, but also sustains well when you play ED. That's the thing about the tones, and they're great for that, you know. What are open backs best used for? For me, I'm going to use my Tweed amps and the Celestine Blue. The low-powered stuff is much better for open back. But, you know, I mean, you're going to get more bass. So if you want to have more bassy, more boom, for me, I think that happens more with an open back cabinet, especially the 2x12, the Bob Burt cabinet here. It's very boomy, very bassy. Whereas a 1x12, closed or open, is going to be less bass and more, you know, more direct sound. But I think with the 112, it doesn't make that much difference. It's going to be more direct. It's going to more directional with the closed back. But if you want to spread the sound out, you know, then that's where it's better to use a, you know, an open back. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks, guys. You've been amazing for being here, checking this video out. And I'm going to do a series coming up very soon. Which is going to be about British musical equipment. The first video is coming tonight, and it's going to be called The History of the Fuzz Bass. Then tomorrow there's going to be another video, or maybe the day after that, and it's going to be called The History of the Tone Bender. So they're going to be the next two videos. Then we're going to be doing a video, the history, and I'm going to be doing a proper historical video about how Eric Clapton recorded with John Mill the first Beano album, the Blues Breakers album, at Decca Studios here in London. And then we're going to be doing the fourth video, I think, is maybe I'm going to be doing a Beatles recording video, what vintage, like what compressors and what Newman mics that the Beatles used. I'm going to be doing a history video on that, which may be useful for guitar players if you want to know how to what plugins to use to mic up guitars. So there's 4 videos that we're going to be doing in the next week, history videos. So guys, I hope you're going to enjoy that one tonight. Anyone who's got fuzz faces out there, you're gonna like this video. It's pretty cool, and it's nice because I love these videos where we go back to the 1960s. You know, where rock and, you know, British blues rock started. Yeah, that's basically it. Thanks again, guys. God bless, stay safe, and yeah, don't let this coronavirus get you. You know, eat vegetables, eat some garlic, eat cabbage, drink lots of water, do some breathing exercises. I'm really into yoga, you know. And in yoga we do some, stretches, and we do a lot of, really fill your lungs up with some air. Get the air deep into your lungs, because that's this. I might be wrong here, but that's where the coronavirus attacks your lungs. So try to, get some air into your lungs. Really take a deep breath, like. Hold it and then breathe out. Go into the garden, do some nice breathing exercises, some meditation. Just really breathe and fill your lungs up with air, because I think that's going to be really healthy. So guys, stay safe, and God bless you all. And we're going to be back. So check out the video tonight, the history of a fuzz face. Until then, hasta la vista, and hope to see you soon. Take care, and thank you.